Hey guys, so I have 5 juice reviews for you today, and they're from this relatively new American-based company called Torte Electronic Nectar. Really nice labels in my opinion, it looks really art deco-ish. Now, the juices that I have are of 12 milligrams and they are of a 70% VG, 30% PG mix ratio, and they are Torte Arnicia, Dolce Nero, Amaretto Nightcap, Torte Pistachio, and Americano Chimbala. Now you can pick one of these bottles up at shop.vaperev.com, which is spelled as shop.vaperev.com, and they go for $14 for a 15 ml bottle or $22 for a 30 ml bottle. So when you first receive the bottles, it will actually come with this like plastic dripper slash stopper kind of thing, and I like this aspect a lot, as not only will your juices not be able to like accidentally spill out of the bottle should you happen to like tip this over, for example, but you're actually able to like stick say a 17 gauge needle into it with no problems at all. So huge thumbs up on that aspect for me. So anywho, let's first start off with Torte Arnicia. Now Torte Arnicia is described on the website as sweet orange macaroons with coconut, a tobacco back, and multi-layered creams. So I currently have mine in my Genesis with a 0.8 ohms coil and 3 to 5 straw mesh. So here goes. So you get great clouds of this e-liquid. Now I tried all these juices on both a high wattage setup, like my Genesis atomizers, and on a low wattage setup in which I dripped into a 510 dripping atomizer from about 7 watts to 10 watts. Now on a high wattage setup, I had a light orange flavor on the inhale with this full-blown like creamy orange cake flavor on the exhale. The cake actually reminds me of that of a butter sponge cake, for example, and it's more skewed towards like an Italian macaroon. The orange flavor and the cake flavor I found actually kind of like melts together in one, and although you kind of like taste this melding of the flavor, you can pretty much identify the two distinct flavors of the orange and the cake in it. What I found as well is that right towards at the end of the vape, there is also this extra pop of orange, like right towards the end, and it actually helps to like give this flavor, this juice, an overall like furthered sense of like complexity to it. There is also this kind of like coconut shaving flavor in it as well, and I found it to be more of like a background note, as I only tasted it right at the middle of the vape, and after that it was like this full-blown orange cake sensation. Really great vape in my opinion. I like this juice a lot and have been vaping it non-stop for like the past few days. The throat hit for this e-liquid is really nice, strong and smooth, as it gave this really great kick at the back of the throat. However, there was like no corsy feeling after vaping it. On a low wattage setup, exactly the same flavor profile as that of a high wattage setup. So next up is Amaretto Nightcap. Now Amaretto Nightcap is described on the website as pear and vanilla spice amaretto finish. So I currently have mine in my steam turbine with a dual coil setup at 0.7 ohms and 3 to 5 straw mesh. So here goes. To get great clouds once again. Now on a high wattage device, I had a light creamy amaretto flavor on the inhale, with the same creamy amaretto flavor like transcending over to the exhale, except coming out like much stronger and much more creamier on the exhale. The pear flavor I found is actually more similar to that of like an actual pear fruit, and it starts to meld with like the vanilla and the amaretto from like the mid to like the end of the exhale. When you exhale it, what's crazy about it is that all 3 flavors of like the pear, the vanilla, and like the amaretto actually melts together into like this one exhale. However, you definitely can identify each 3 like distinct flavors as you vape it, which is just an amazing vape in my opinion. Personally, I think that I really can't describe this juice enough to like give justice to it, as I recently just moved and have been like packing and like flying and unpacking for like the past few days, and each time I was like really stressed out. All I needed was to just vape Amaretto Nightcap and everything just like seemed to go away. I think it's a glorious vape. While it's really mellow, the flavors are still like incredibly flavorful at the same time, and I have no idea how did they do it, but huge thumbs up on this juice. If I had like more hands, it would be like even more thumbs up on this, as yeah, it's really good. So thank you so much for actually creating it. I love this flavor a lot. Throat hit for this e-liquid, as once again strong yet smooth, as it gave this really great kick at the back of the throat. However, there was no like horsey feeling after vaping it. On a low wattage setup, once again the same flavor profile as that of a high wattage setup. So next up is Torte Pistachio. Now Torte Pistachio is described on the website as pistachio cake with chocolate filling and cream. Now I currently have mine in my synthesis with a 0.8 ohms coil and 3 to 5 straw mash. So you get great clouds once again. Now in a high wattage setup, I had light cocoa on the inhale with this full on like creamy but raw pistachio flavor on the exhale. The chocolate flavor I found is actually more akin to that of a cocoa flavor than like a milk chocolate in itself, and it comes off more like an underlying note in the exhale. And this chocolate I found is most evident from like the mid to like the end of like the exhale, and overall this e-juice in my opinion actually reminds me of that of a dark chocolate pistachio cake. You know, right on top where like there is the chocolate layer on it with like all the raw pistachio. That's what it tastes like. Well, I do like this flavor a lot. I think it can actually potentially like benefit a bit more from like by adding a bit more chocolate, as right now Torte Pistachio would actually appeal a lot to those people who like pistachio nuts. But if you're not really a nutty fan, the buzz of like nuts would actually might potentially like turn people down from it, and I think with like just a tad bit more chocolate in it, it would help this juice to like reach out to even more like vapors out there, and as it would be a bit more desserty. But that's just my opinion, at least, if that makes sense. Throat hit for this e-liquid is once again like the other two e-liquids. It's really strong yet smooth at the same time. On a low wattage setup, once again the same flavor profile as that of a high wattage setup, except the cocoa flavor actually comes out much more on a low wattage device, thus making like the overall juice on a low wattage setup just a tad bit more like desserty and like really yummy in my opinion. So next up is Americano Chimbala. Now Americano Chimbala is described on the website as maple bar start with a spicy cream and strong tobacco back. Now I currently have mine in my Fagati with a 0.6 ohms coil and 3 to 5 straw mash. So you get great clouds once again. Now in a high wattage setup, I had a mellow like maple syrup flavor with like a tinge of like earthiness on the inhale, and this moved on to like this full burst of like maple syrup at the beginning to like the mid of the exhale. It's only from the mid towards the end of the exhale in which you're able to like taste this like creamy cigar-like tobacco flavor. And while I've tried to like vape this juice like for quite some time, I still quite can't identify the spice note in it. However, it just reminds me of that of say a Monte Cristo Eduardo, for example, in terms of like that spicy earthy flavor in it. On a low wattage setup, once again exactly the same flavor profile of that of a high wattage setup. The throat hit for this e-liquid is once again really strong yet smooth, as it gave this really great kick at the back of the throat. However, there was no like cozy feeling after vaping it. So next up is Dolce Nero tea, which is described on the website as sweet black tea. Now I currently have mine in my iHybrid with a 0.8 ohms coil and 3 to 5 straw mash. So I get great clouds once again. Now on a high wattage setup, I add honey on the inhale, with like this really great melting of the same honey flavor with black tea on the exhale. The earthiness of the black tea comes out even more right at the end of the vape, and it's a really true like black tea kind of flavor. If I were to like compare this juice with like something that I've tried so far, I'm not too sure if you guys have this in your country, but in Sydney, for example, there's actually all these like Asian like bubble tea stores in which you can like order tea and with whatnot in it. And if you're to go in and ask for like a honey black tea, it tastes exactly the same of like a fresh brewed black tea with like honey in it. Really great vape in my opinion. On a low wattage setup, exactly the same flavor profile as that of a high wattage setup. Throat hit for this e-liquid is once again strong yet smooth. It gave this really great kick at the back of the throat, however there was like no cozy feeling after vaping it. Overall, I'm just like flat out impressed by like Poet Electronic Nectar. It's definitely a case of like pursuit of excellent taste achieved. It's really good in my opinion. Flavor of this guy is just phenomenal. If you guys are just like planning on buying one, for example, definitely check out Amaretto Nightcap and just go straight for the 30 ml bottle, as I don't think you'll be disappointed by this flavor. So yeah, check out Poet Electronic Nectar. I like these juices a lot, and I most definitely can't wait to like see what other flavors that this company has coming out next. So yeah, huge thumbs up, huge win in my opinion. So I guess that's all I have for you guys today. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you guys are keen, and I'll definitely see you guys next video. Peace.